All right, joining us from our Lagos studio is Achike Chude, a public affairs analyst and an expert on labor issues. Achike, glad to have you join us on Newsnight. Organized labor is asking for expansion of social protection for workers. What do you think workers most need in this country now?
Well, I think workers want to live well. They want to live, they are not asking for too much, they're just asking for the basic necessities depending on their social status and the economic status. So all of those things that make lives meaningful, these are the things that they are asking for. They want to have access to good housing, they want to have access to good Medicare. They want to have access to transportation, effective transportation. They want the problems of poverty to be taken care of so that they can meet up with the basic necessities of life. Obviously, social exclusion has been a major problem with the vast majority of Nigerians, and the Nigerian worker is not far from that. Of course, listening to some of the speakers at the conference, I think it was the Speaker of the House of Representatives, that also talked about the minimum wage as a part of those issues that need to be addressed. Of course, the government has not been able to do that all this while. And as little as the minimum wage, national minimum wage is. So you're talking about, this social protection, policy that ensures that people, especially the workers, do not fall below, a particular level. And that is the only way that life can be a little bit meaningful, so that they can meet up with the basic necessities of life. The average Nigerian worker is not able to do that, most unfortunately.
Indeed, I mean, social protection is increasingly becoming the norm globally as a tool to improve, development and, developmental challenges. Why, after needs, Nigeria has had needs, UN and different other social intervention programs, and they all seem to have fallen flat on their face. How important do you think adequate data is if these social interventions are to succeed?
Yeah, well, I think one of the things we need to also say in terms of, you want to look at governments in the past, not just the present government, but it would appear that most governments in Nigeria, have recognized the importance of, carrying out policies that are beneficial to the vast majority of people, especially the vulnerable and the poor. Of course, if you go back, you look at programs like even Operation Feed the Nation, the DFRI, all of these things were programs. You talked about UN and some of the other programs, even under this present dispensation, they have come up with. So in terms of policy, there would seem to be some level of recognition of the need to do some of these things. But obviously, the problem that we have also always suffered from is, people have always talked about Nigeria having very good policies when you look at it on the surface. But when it comes to implementation of these policies, that is exactly, at that level that we fall short. So these are some of the issues that people have had to, grapple with. And of course, we know the consequences of that. And I'm glad that the NLC, workers, have linked up, have done the necessary linkage between the poverty in the land and the inability to meet up with the expectations of the worker, and even the ordinary Nigerian, and the issue of insecurity in the country. So it is a matter of national expediency, emergency, that we address some of the debilitating economic situation that the average Nigerian worker and the average Nigerian finds himself in. Otherwise, we're all going to pay a price. Nigerian side will pay a price. And once we do that, you begin to really talk about development. So I think it has been failure of governance over the years. That is essentially what is responsible for the series of socio-economic contradictions that we have been facing as a nation, as a people.
Achike, which is more an Achilles heel for the worker? All this we're talking about, expansion, workers' welfare, or the implementation of these policies, for example, the minimum wage?
Yeah, they all go hand in hand. There's no doubt about that because, there are so many other things that should be accruing to the worker. But beyond that, again, you need to also begin to look at the issue of governance critically. You need to begin to expand the economic space because it is when you have expanded the economic space, when you create a more stable environment for the country, that, I think it becomes much easier for you to begin to meet up with the expectations of the workers. I think the workers have done their bit over the years. It's just that somehow in terms of policy, the policymakers have failed. And so I agree with you that, implementing policy implementation is also good because, government, officials have looked at this and they come out with a series of programs. Of course, and that's why I was happy that at this event you had the heavy hitters from the government. The speaker was there. The Senate chairman in charge of public services was also there. Then you had people from the NHIS. You had people from a federal mortgage bank and all that. So these are institutions that are critical in ensuring the implementation of the policies that the government, has come up with. So the issue of the minimum wage still remains an overriding, something of overriding concern to the Nigerian worker. But beyond that are all the other social policy issues that also need to be implemented. They must go hand in hand. And like I said, it has become a matter of a national emergency. Otherwise, we are all going to pay a price, which we're already doing with regards to the insecurity that's going on in this country.
So, Achike, I actually wanted you to address these policies, as beautiful as they are, as laudable as they are, without adequate data, how much success really can you achieve? I'd like you to address that. And then let's talk about this good news. 2 weeks break, paternity leave for men. How excited are you about that?
Well, I think you talked about that. And unfortunately, I think in my response, I did not talk about the issue of data. Data is very key. And of course, that has been the bane of Nigeria. Everybody is agreed, even the experts will tell you that we do not seem to have the ability to ensure that we have the right kind of data. Because if you do not have that data, you will not be able to do anything. For you talk about, implementation, talk about the quantum of even the budget that you want to make for a particular, to provide for a particular, item, you need, relevant data. Of course, that even goes back as far as even the censuses that we have had in this country, always mad with all kinds of, controversy. So data is fundamental. Look, the government tells us that we have about over 9 million poor and vulnerable households in this country. And then out of that, we have about 41 million Nigerians individuals that are, in that category of, people who are vulnerable and who need, help. So, this is data. I don't know how the government got it, but obviously this is the data that we have to work with. But beyond that, again, we must say that data gathering has been a problem. And as long as we have that, like I've said, we're going to keep on, we will not be able to exactly get it right. Then the issue of paternity leave, this has been going on for men. This has been going on for quite some time. In Europe, it's a policy that has been implemented over the years in Europe. And I think I'm exceedingly very excited. And I think I think the beauty of that is that it also locates the importance of the father in the house. Some of us, I must say that some of us men have been marginalized for too long. Of course, we love our children. And so it's not just the maternal love that everybody seems to talk about. We also love our kids and want to be in a position to also exercise some, a break so that we can also be able to help our wives in the house. And I think I'm exceedingly excited. It's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, I know you will be excited about it. All right, but some of us, I think we've passed even the stage of having to breastfeed or whatever. Thank you so much there, Achike Chude, there for your time on News Now. All right.